York, and we are following the eye of this hurricane as it moves past Panama City, just east of Panama City, bearing down on Tallahassee, Florida. Wind speeds currently 150 miles an hour. In Tallahassee, that's where we find ABC's Victor Akendo. Victor, how's it going?
Well, David, things are only getting worse here as Hurricane Michael quickly approaches. Just to give you an idea about what's going on here at our hotel, we are safe along this side where we are, but on the other side, some aluminum side paneling of the building has actually been ripped right off and come down, actually damaging a few of the cars out here in the parking lot. Throughout the rest of Tallahassee, there are several reports of downed trees. So you've got a lot of debris right now blocking off a lot of streets. So that is why emergency officials, the county, everyone here is urging folks to absolutely stay off the streets and shelter in place until Hurricane Michael completely passes through Tallahassee. We'll be looking at conditions like this. It'll only be getting worse, by the way, for another 1 to 2 hours here. Again, the major concern, I just mentioned that a lot of those streets are closed. Tallahassee, Florida's capital, it's got trees all over the place, and we've known for quite a while now that a lot of these will be coming down, and they'll be taking out power lines as well. It wasn't too long ago, a big old branch came down right on top of a car here inside this parking lot. We're expecting a lot of damage like that as Hurricane Michael continue making its way right here through Tallahassee. We can tell you, though, that officials have been prepared for this one. They've got a lot of crews in place that will be ready to ride out and get the city back up and running, because a lot of folks right now are without power as well. David?
Victor, I'm not sure I understand the track of this storm quite correctly, but if I do understand it correctly, it looks like it'll pass just to the left of Tallahassee, just to the west of Tallahassee, I should say. But that doesn't mean that you will be spared the wind and the rain, because it sounds like that will churn right through Tallahassee, and that Tallahassee will experience pretty much the brunt of this storm, no?
That's what we're seeing right now, David. It does look like the storm is going to be to the west of us, but that also puts Tallahassee on that dirty side of the storm. There's still a chance here that we could see some tornadoes. We'll be looking at, strong wind gusts, just like this one that we're starting to feel right now. They've been much stronger than this just within the past 20 minutes or so as well. We'll be in the thick of things here for quite some time, but we won't get, the eye wall will not be passing directly over Tallahassee.
So you'll be spared the eye, but the brunt of the storm, the dirty edge of the storm, as you called it there, will pass right over Tallahassee with those powerful winds, which still have not dissipated from when they hit the shore. 155 miles an hour when they hit the shore. Let's look at the power of those winds. This is a rooftop right in Panama City, and just look at entire homes have been swept away there. These are homes that are built to withstand hurricanes, but you can see the devastation. That, I believe, is from Tessa Talacaro. I thought that was Ginger Z's footage. I'm sorry. But basically wreckage left in the wake of this storm. Those winds will be almost as powerful when they hit Tallahassee.
That's what's so impressive about this storm, David, is that it's just moving so quickly that we'll still be feeling those strong hurricane force winds. Usually once these hurricanes hit land, they slow down substantially, but Hurricane Michael is such a fast mover. We're seeing it happen right now. Take a look, this rain, another strong band coming through right now as these winds really start to pick up. We've felt stronger ones than this, where it really almost just takes you right off your feet, but we'll be feeling this in Tallahassee for quite some time right now. Again, officials have been warning people for hours now, telling them that if they did not evacuate, that if they did not leave their homes, it is way too late at this point. You need to shelter in place.
This is the third most powerful storm ever to hit the United States, the most powerful storm in 50 years since Hurricane Camille. Emergency crews have been bracing for this, but as this storm barrels through the south, one has to wonder if the entire southern United States are fully prepared. They don't usually, Florida, where you are, they're used to hurricanes, not so much in some of the states farther to the north.
That's right, David. But just to give you an idea of what officials are saying about this storm hitting Tallahassee, they, in a press conference recently, said that Tallahassee has not seen a storm like this in more than 100 years. Now, we got to Tallahassee yesterday afternoon. We drove through much of this town, and we've got to tell you, it didn't feel like a city that was on edge, a city that felt like there was an incoming powerful storm like this one. just to give you an idea, we only found one store owner who was boarding up his music supply store, and he told us he's lived here his entire life. And the last time that he boarded up the shop was actually in the 80s. Now, there was Hurricane Hermine 2 years ago. That was a Category 1, though. That managed to do a ton of damage here. Obviously, Hurricane Michael, a much different beast.
ABC's Victor Oquendo in Tallahassee. Thank you very much, Victor. Stay dry as best you can. Let's turn now to Sam Champion. He is in Miami in the Weather Center there. Sam, you and I have been talking about the track of this storm, how it is basically barreling through the south like a bowling ball.
Yeah. Still at, what, 14, 15 miles an hour, still have winds at about 140 miles an hour. And this storm has no connection. The center of this storm, the circulation, no connection to water. So we have a lot of impact still to go with this storm. This is going to be a long, all the way into late Thursday night into Friday to get rid of and not be talking about this storm any longer. We'll start with the fact that we have flood warnings out in Pensacola right now. They've had 7 inches of rain. They could have an additional 4 inches of rain. So that is even on the softer side of the storm, if you will. And we still have the center of this storm kind of moving over I-10. Now, I-10 is the highway that runs right through the Panhandle and takes you either toward New Orleans or toward Jacksonville, depending on the direction you're going. So the center of this storm moving over I-10 right now. Still beautiful circulation on this thing, which you would look at for a healthy hurricane. That entire circle and all the thunderstorms running around it and all the feeder bands as well. David, something else that's just amazing right now. So take that flood watch and flood warning that we see in Florida and then run it all the way up the coastline to Boston with this storm. Now, here's how that connection's made. There's a pretty strong cold front that's moving through the Midwest right now. It has everything to do with what's going to happen with Michael with the next 24 hours, 36 hours or so. Because what happens is, as a hurricane moves onshore, it's a tight water delivery system. Everything is wrapped around it. But when it gets onshore, what you start to see is it opening up, spreading up, and then boom, it'll throw all its moisture out. And that cold front is driving down, catches that moisture, and that rain will enhance the rain all the way up into Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. So the cold front was going to deliver rain anyway. Now it's going to deliver even more rain because it has tropical moisture mixed in with it. And that's why we have those flood watches from Panama City all the way up to Boston. And that's incredible.
Sam, people have been talking about the soft side of this storm. You just used that expression yourself. And people have been talking about the dirty side of this storm. Can you briefly explain what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So, David, every time you look at a hurricane, and those of us who forecast it for a long time kind of mentally do this, you draw a circle around the hurricane, then you draw a cross right through the middle of that circle. The worst part of it will be in the northeastern quadrant. So if I turn around and do that for you and do it on the screen here, the worst part of it is in that quadrant, that northeastern quadrant. It's got the worst wind, the worst waves, the worst rain typically, and the worst thunderstorms typically. Now, we can see those thunderstorms wrap around the entire circle, but usually when we see a storm, and even a powerful hurricane, it's that northeastern corner that's the worst side of the storm, because that wind is constantly pushing in that direction. So when you see the softer side, the impacts of the wind, or that left side, the west side of the storm, the wind's going to be a little bit less, the rain might be a little bit less, and the storm surge will certainly be less in those communities. So when you look at a storm that's going to make impact, look at where the eye is and look at everything east, and that's usually where you're going to get your bigger damage.
All right. Sam, stay with us if you could. We're going to go, though, to Ginger Z by telephone from Mexico City Beach. You've seen a lot this morning, Ginger. How's it looking right now?
I have, and it is. I just came out of a condo that we are staying in this really well-fortified condo building, and the woman who actually let us come into the condo building last night to ride out the storm here, we were just speaking with her, and it was such an emotional interview because she has most likely lost her home, which was on the water. We can't see it from here, and we're definitely not able to leave from here. But when we look out the windows here, when I'm standing right now on the back side of the condo building, I see cars floating, surge still in all of the streets, all of the trees snapped from half and below. When I look in the piles of debris that are giant, you have huge pieces of refrigerators, standing freezers, homes, the contents of homes. And it's not just the outside of homes, it's not just the vehicles, but we're seeing the homes as if they exploded. And when I was standing here during the heat of the storm, and I watched that house come off of its foundation, it made me tear up, because I thought, I've always, I know the power of storm surge. We made a 3D graphic about it. It was as if that was coming to life. It was very movie-like, very film-like, and now it's not film-like. Now it's reality. And now I'm standing here, and all I can see, until my eye can't see anymore, is devastation. There's only one. There are a couple of other storms I've covered that would be something like this, and it looked like this in Katrina, and it looked like this for parts of Sandy. And of course, there have been other storms, but this one will absolutely, as you've heard, go down in the books for so many reasons. But the heart of it, the humanity of it, is settling in very early. There is a house missing, one of a dozen. Our neighbor here was telling us where there was a woman in there. She knew there was a woman that stayed in there, and that house is no longer standing. And I just saw a report about the fatalities in Mexico Beach. I am so hoping that is not that woman, but it sounds like it may be at least one of them, because we're even seeing cars right now. I see the back end of a pickup truck just sticking out, and that's how deep the water is in some places still. And this is after the storm has passed, right?
Right.
At a certain point, when we were inside and we were watching the storm surge, it was lapping up at the second floor here, and so we were on the third floor. So I believe that they ended up having a 15-plus foot storm surge.
We heard Sam talking there about the dirty edge of the storm and the softer edge. You are definitely east of Panama City, where this thing made landfall, on the dirty end.
Yes, we were in that northeast quadrant, or the dirty side of the storm, and we were in it for over an hour. When you have that type of wind coming at you for that long and pushing the water like a big bubble of water, it comes in like a wall, and it looked frightening. From my window, I've never, ever seen anything like that before. It was, again, very film-like, very day after tomorrow-ish, but happening right before our eyes.
Wow.
The end of your truck, hold on. The man that was saying, that's the end of his truck that I saw. Yeah. And that's the thing, is we are on an island now. I mean, we are in this safe place, but we are not going to be able to get out, nor would we even want to, for a very long time. And that's the other reality. And a lot of these storms that I've covered, right, so the devastation happens. It's surreal. Then it starts to settle in. I mean, these people are going to have to probably wait at least 24 hours to go find out if their home survived, their cats inside, their neighbors that stayed. But then you have to remember that it goes well beyond that. These two were about to get married in 2 weeks. Their wedding is 2 weeks from now. And she had her dress in the house. She has all of the parties. And everyone was supposed to come here. This is a beautiful place that people cherish and celebrate. And now it really does look very much like a wasteland.
I mean, you remember back to Hurricane Katrina, where the storm itself was simply Act One. The succeeding acts were all of the hardships that followed. It sounds like we may expect, under very different circumstances, but may expect some of the same outcomes in this case.
Yeah.